We need to talk. Not us together, but in general. Dialogues and conversations are at the heart of democracy because it's through exchange and debate that we can get to the best solutions to face, together, our collective challenges. But what happens when we live in a reality so different we can't have a conversation? What happens when power has been so concentrated that we can't trust the ones who hold it to say the truth? What are the causes of polarization, conspiracy, and incommunicability? Incommunicability. The movie Bugonia tackles these questions in a simple yet very efficient premise. Two conspiracy theorists, one who leads and the other who follows, kidnap a rich CEO, believing that she's secretly one of the aliens who's trying to destroy Earth. This video will be divided into 3 parts. First, we'll look at chaos and the causes of polarization, why we can't seem to have a dialogue anymore, and why truth seems so unattainable. Second, we'll look at untangling chaos and the ways in which we try to make sense of the world and try to fix it. And thirdly, we'll get into the spoilers of the movie where we'll talk about the ending, what it means, what it says, and how to criticize it. So up to the 3rd part, this analysis will remain spoiler-free. Before we continue, I'd like to thank every patron for supporting the channel. For $1 or more per month, you can become a patron and support the channel and be in the credits at the end of each video. It's extremely appreciated and very, very helpful. If you don't want to go on Patreon, you can like and subscribe if you haven't already. Wait, you haven't liked and subscribed yet? Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. The chaos at play in Bugonia is one of a crisis of faith in our institutions and the people leading them, fueled by a growing divide between the powerful and the powerless, and precipitated by the impending threat of ecological catastrophe. What this creates is a climate of uncertainty, distrust, and a difficulty to communicate. This last difficulty is at the heart, at least to me, of Bugonia. So, I told you that this movie is about 2 conspiracy theorists who kidnap a CEO, which is true, but they kidnap her at the beginning of the movie. What the movie is really about, or at least where it shines to me, is the standoff between Teddy, the conspiracy theorist, and Michelle, the CEO. There's Donnie in the middle, who has a crucial part in being the conscience of the movie, but for the sake of this video, we're focusing on Teddy and Michelle. Teddy works at Oxalith, Michelle's company, in an Amazon-like warehouse. He's poor, isolated, lonely, disenfranchised, alienated, and vulnerable. He's living with his cousin Donnie in his mom's house. His mother is in a coma following a failed experimental drug trial led by Oxalith for her opioid withdrawal. His father left him when he was young. To add to all that trauma, the movie adds an element of child sexual abuse in the mix through a cop, Teddy's old babysitter. I honestly didn't think it was that necessary, and there's a lot of criticism that can be made about it, but yeah, the movie makes a point that Teddy is traumatized and hasn't had it easy. Teddy is unhinged, but by overexposing why Teddy is unhinged, we still develop empathy for him. He chemically castrates himself, he chemically castrates his neurodivergent cousin, he has fits of rage, gets violent, and is, of course, completely bought into a crazy conspiracy theory which claims that aliens live among us and want to destroy the planet. Not only does he believe that, but he actively acts on it by capturing Michelle and doing other things to her which I feel like get into spoiler territory. In any case, the movie opens up with Teddy. We know he's crazy, but we're still attached to him somehow. He's not the good guy here, but neither is Michelle. He's not the good guy, but he's the everyday guy, the one who suffers from the system which Michelle benefits from. Michelle, on the other hand, is everything Teddy is not. She is successful, Teddy isn't. She's rich, Teddy's poor. She's cold and fake, Teddy has a warmth to him, I guess, and is authentic. Everyone cares about Michelle.
I am crucial. Think of it like you abducted the governor, but worse.
While nobody cares about Teddy.
They won't. No one on Earth gives a single fuck about us.
Michelle is cool-headed and composed. Teddy is crazy and volatile. There are many ways in which both characters are placed as polar opposites, and as Michelle says with a lot of contempt,
"You can't beat me because you are a loser and I am a winner. And that's fucking life."
Although both characters are seemingly smart, both have a very different view on education. Michelle talks about the degrees she's accumulated, while Teddy is insecure about not having that level of education.
Okay, wow, great. A degree from a university from a credentialist scam for laundering privilege. Amazing.
Well, yeah, I do have a degree.
Teddy is a bit naive, perhaps out of desperation, which makes him vulnerable. Michelle, on the other hand, is fake, manipulative, and inaccessible. One way in which this facet of Michelle's personality is portrayed is through dialogue. When she talks, it's in a calculated corporal speak.
I hear where you're coming from. I do. And I respectfully disagree.
On which part?
Primarily, I'm not an alien.
This sanitized language, which everybody despises, is one which creates a distance between the speaker and their audience. Michelle is not letting her personality show through in the way she speaks, making Teddy wonder if she actually has a personality, if she's even human to begin with. So, to go back to the theme of chaos, class divides create a gap in our characters' experiences and realities, which, of course, creates a difficulty for dialogue. They both live in two different worlds, and one feels insecure about his position in the social hierarchy, while the other views him with contempt. Normally, these two wouldn't have a dialogue in the first place. The only reason why there is one is because, in a reversal of roles, Teddy is taking control and Michelle is losing it. And I can understand why both of them talk past each other. Michelle doesn't really take Teddy's concerns seriously, and honestly, how could she? And Teddy wholeheartedly believes that Michelle is an alien, so how could he believe her? But since we're on the topic of class, there's another way in which class intervenes in making dialogue more difficult. When Teddy blames Michelle's company, Oxalith, for killing the bees by causing colony collapse disorder, or CCD, Michelle says that Teddy's research is outdated.
I just think your research is a bit out of date, Teddy. CCD has declined significantly in recent years. The bees are coming back. And there's no consensus that pesticides were ever a real threat to begin with.
Yes, I'm well aware of what you've all been telling us. Thank you.
Who do we believe? Michelle has a strong incentive to lie here. Massive profits hinge on Michelle's version, whether it's true or not, to be perceived as true. Because corporations are incentivized to lie, then a climate of skepticism and uncertainty about what is true and what isn't can thrive. Michelle points out, however, that Teddy also has an incentive to pin CCD on Oxalith. She says that it's easier for Teddy to look at a big bad and blame the issue on it. It gives simple explanations to complex issues and can also give simple solutions. But again, Michelle, as a CEO, has an incentive to make us believe that the issue is complex and chaotic rather than the responsibility of a big bad. Which brings us to perhaps the biggest factor for incommunicability explored by this movie: conspiracy theories. Michelle makes it obvious.
I think you're in a kind of echo chamber.
Echo chamber? Right now? Echo?
You're consuming content on the internet that is reinforcing this sort of warped, subjective idea of reality.
This is your best shot at me?
Teddy's conspiracy theory is irrefutable. It's unfalsifiable. Michelle is either an alien or is lying about it. No matter what she says, she can't disprove it. And again, he has incentives to keep believing she's an alien. His pride is on the line. He needs to prove to himself and Donnie that she's an alien. Plus, he kidnapped a very high-profile CEO, so he's a bit too committed to the bit to pull out at this point. It's the whole sunk cost fallacy. And Teddy is putting up mechanisms to stop himself from being skeptical of his conspiracy theory by, for example, dehumanizing Michelle. That way, by calling her it, he's trying to protect his opinion from being changed about her. In any case, their conversations, which never amount to anything and often results in violence, can best be represented by this scene.
No, you're lying again. Lies.
Truth.
Lies.
What's the difference? I can't change your mind.
You're right. You can't.
The truth, Michelle says, doesn't matter because Teddy's mind can't be changed. The movie is pretty explicit about how conspiracy theories poison your brain and make you unable to engage with reality and with the free marketplace of ideas. I'm saying free marketplace of ideas like Semi-ironically, I would have put quotes, but I don't think you really see them anyway. And to a certain extent, Teddy doesn't want a dialogue in the first place. He says it openly that all we do is talk, and that dialogue becomes a way to maintain the status quo. It's a way to not act.
You're right. Let's talk it out. Let's create a safe space, safe words, good faith, dialogue. When you talk about this, when you talk about that, and what we talk about, when we talk about fucking talking forever until we're all fucking dead.
In this section, I want to look at how Teddy tries to untangle this chaos, or, as I said earlier, this crisis of faith in our institutions and the people leading them, fueled by a growing divide between the powerful and the powerless, and precipitated by the impending threat of ecological catastrophe. It's a long definition, but it makes it look more sophisticated than it actually is. Super sophisticated. Delicious. Teddy is obviously concerned about what's going on around him. He's concerned about the bees, about his dying mother, about his cousin, his colleagues, his family, etc. For everything to go so badly in Teddy's life, there needs to be a reason. He needs to find an explanation to all of it. He tried to find answers in different ideologies, as he says, but it's the conspiracy about the aliens that best explains what's happening to him. He blames aliens for what's happening to the bees, he blames them for Donnie's neurodivergence, and when his coworker suffers, he says it will all be over once the aliens leave. And often through the movie, this belief in conspiracy is framed as a coping mechanism. For example, when the child abuser cop tries to talk about the past with Teddy, Teddy deflects by giving him a book on aliens. And more than once, Teddy is accused of reacting the way he does, of believing the things he believes in, because of his dying mother.
This is not about that.
With all due respect, Teddy, how could this not be about that?
This is not about me, Don. This is about everyone.
And Teddy always gives a strong negative reaction, and I understand why. He says that his fight against aliens is not about him or about his mother, but about a broader threat to humanity, and within his framework, he's right. The fact that we keep boiling it down to personal trauma minimizes and delegitimizes his grievances and struggles with power. It's true, though. Had Teddy been comfortable, lived an uneventful middle-class life with no trauma, he probably wouldn't have turned to fighting potential aliens. So in a way, yes, he does fight potential aliens because of his personal trauma. But most people who fight oppressive systems will fight them because they are themselves oppressed. Within his framework, Teddy is fighting aliens because he's seen and been the victim of their schemes. That doesn't make his fight against them less valid. So again, I understand Teddy for getting angry about people's mischaracterization of his motivations for saving the planet. His activism, in a way, is seen as motivated by a personal vendetta and mental illness, rather than by a genuine will to liberate humanity from its alien oppressors. Teddy tries to untangle chaos, make sense of everything that's happening both to the world and to him. What makes sense to him is the alien conspiracy theory. Through a nuanced and touching depiction of Teddy, we understand why he turns to conspiracy theories, and we also understand why he's doing the actions he's doing. Even though these actions are wrong, and even if his beliefs are obviously wrong, we can still sympathize with Teddy because we can tell he genuinely believes that what he's doing is right and noble. And we, as an audience, also need to untangle the chaos which is unraveling before our eyes. All throughout the movie, and this is an experience I've heard from multiple people who have seen it, our sympathies shift from Teddy to Michelle. But even more importantly, our belief in whether or not Michelle is an alien shifts as well. Now that the people who haven't seen the movie are gone, I can finally say it. Michelle is an alien. But you already know that. I don't know what you thought of the ending of this movie, and I'm extremely curious to know, so let me know what you thought in the comments. You know I read them all. And I have 3 thoughts to offer you about the ending. First, criticism. I loved the ending. I think my only criticism of it is that it kind of undermines the whole point of the movie, which is a pretty big deal. The whole movie argues that conspiracy theories poison your brain and public conversation, that they can lead to violence, and that they can be dangerous, both to the conspiracy theorists and to the people around them. And by ending the movie saying the conspiracy theorists were right, at least partly, you run the risk of undermining the whole condemnation and exploration of the phenomena of conspiracy theories that your whole movie was based on. Okay, maybe not entirely based on, but at least it's an element. Like there's a criticism there that's kind of undermined. But it's not entirely based on conspiracy theories. I don't think the movie's, but anyway. Secondly, truth. While the movie navigates the mystery and ambiguity of the truth behind Michelle, the ending has no ambiguity at all and gives you a very straightforward answer. The whole movie has this postmodern bent to it where each character has their own truth and we need to navigate through all this mess to figure out what's going on. The movie could have left us on a cliffhanger. Is Michelle an alien or not? It would have been really easy to end the movie that way, but instead, the movie indulges in the conspiracy and grounds itself firmly in a reality where there's no confusion and uncertainty. On September 22nd, 2011, the video Toy Story 3 prank was published on YouTube. Two guys edit Toy Story 3 to make it look as if the movie ends with the toys dying, then have their mom watch it, making her believe that this was how the movie ended. It's peak early 2010s YouTube comedy, but I remember thinking when I first saw this, wouldn't it be funny if a movie just gave up? Imagine the writer of a movie was like, we said what we needed to say, let's just have fun and fuck with our audience for the last 5 minutes of the movie. That would never happen, but it would be funny, I thought. I've been noticing, and I may be completely wrong, an emergence of these kinds of endings where the movie goes off the rails, goes absurd. I want to call this type of ending a tonal rupture, meaning that there's a shift in tone towards the end of a movie which, in our case, embraces absurdity. To illustrate exactly what I mean by a tonal rupture which embraces absurdity, let me tell you about the first time I was shocked by the absurd ending of a movie. In 2015, 10 years ago, I watched Matthew Vaughn's Kingsman in a movie theater with friends. It's a comedic spy movie which flirted between taking itself seriously and going crazy. It talks a lot about class, and more particularly about how the wealthy elite, or the bourgeoisie, yes, I said it again, the bourgeoisie, treats the climate crisis. But no matter how crazy the movie went, from the way the first Kingsman is killed to the chaotically violent church scene, it's one of the scenes at the end which really stuck with me. The bourgeoisie's heads get blown up. The fact that they get blown up isn't really the absurd twist of the movie, but it's the way they get blown up. Those heads blow up like fireworks, accompanied by Edward Elgar's pomp and circumstance. Since then, I noticed the absurd ending twist in Boots Riley's 2018 Sorry to Bother You, and more recently in Coralie Farjat's 2024 The Substance, where this happens. This absurd tonal rupture, which may or may not be or become a thing in cinema, has never been as blatant and intense as it is in Bugonia. It does really feel like the makers of the movie took a serious premise and told themselves, all right, folks, we said everything we needed to say. The themes have been illustrated, characters have been developed. Why not, at this point, just break it all down, make it implode, fuck with the audience, who cares anyway, the movie is over. And this turn to absurdity, this letting go of previously established conventions in the movie, can be tied back to chaos. I think it's a response to chaos. Kingsman is a movie about how the elite will sacrifice the rest of the world for climate change. Boots Riley's Sorry to Bother You and Coralie Farjat's The Substance are both extremely political and tackle complex and seemingly chaotic subjects. Perhaps this absurd twist, this tonal rupture, especially in Bugonia, is a way to make this very contemporary chaos implode on itself, to burn it all instead of trying to untangle it, as Alexander did with the Gordian knot, though he cut it instead of burning it, but you get the gist. This cap is compressing my head. It's so uncomfortable. I can't wait for this video to be over. It's a sort of abandonment, a giving up in the face of an increasingly complex world. A loss of hope, perhaps, in the face of climate annihilation, and an increasingly strong feeling that, especially because the powers that be are too powerful, there's nothing to do about it. This tonal rupture isn't just saying, fuck these problems and fuck these injustices. It's saying, fuck these problems, fuck these injustices, fuck humanity, fuck our system, fuck stories, fuck rational storytelling, fuck realism, fuck reality. All right, so for the conclusion, I didn't really write anything. This video is pretty long enough as it is, at least for what I'm used to. And I wrote this in a week, so anyway. I'd like to talk about how, because when I talk about the ending, I usually talk about, well, in the video, when I talk about the ending, I talk about Michelle being an alien. But there's another ending after that ending, which is everyone dying. And I have no idea, and I've heard people talk about how it's either nihilistic or actually hopeful. Again, that's another thing that you can talk about in the comments. To me, it really felt like here humanity is the problem, and like once humanity is over, like the world can continue living peacefully, and it's kind of a fuck humanity kind of thing, which I don't agree. I think, to me, a big issue for everything that's going on, the reason for that is not humanity or humans, it's capitalism. Surprise, surprise, who would have thought that I would think it's capitalism? But I think the problem here is capitalism, and Michelle is making, for example, a lot of the roots of Teddy's issues are rooted in capitalism. Michelle is at the head of a capitalist corporation and is making profit and makes people's lives more miserable by being at the head of Oxalith, which is kind of Amazon pharmaceutical. It's like, it looks like a kind of an everything mega corporation. And then she kind of instores capitalism on the world, and then is like, yeah, this is not working. The problem must be humans instead of the problem must be capitalism. And I saw this Letterboxd review saying it's easier to imagine aliens than the end of capitalism, something like that, which fits exactly in that kind of idea that the issue here is capitalism, not humans. At least for me, that's my conspiracy theory kind of way of seeing the world and understanding who the big bad is, I guess. But yeah, also another thing, I don't want to brag or anything, but when I saw the trailer of that movie, I was thinking, I think that this movie is going to show that Michelle or Emma Stone is actually an alien. I said that during the trailer, and that's why I thought that's when it began like the whole idea of like absurd tonal rupture idea came to mind. Is I was thinking, what if this happens where Michelle is actually the alien? What would that mean? And then it actually happened. But during the movie, meanwhile, even though I thought, hey, she might be an alien, wouldn't it be fun if she would be an alien? I still didn't think she would be until the electrocution scene, where she kind of like survived an electrocution where the house's power would like go down. I was like, that's impossible. She's an alien. But even after that, I would flop from one to the other. It's a great movie. I love it for that. This uncertainty. That being said, I think that will be the conclusion, because this cap is hurting me so much. My head feels like it's being compressed so hard. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing if you haven't already. And thank you to all the patrons, as always. Roman Brandel, X-Towns, Bone Meal, and Chrissy Chris. Chrissy Chris is the newest one. Thank you so much for watching. And thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for liking, subscribing. I said it already. That's the effect of my cap compressing my head. Stay tuned for the upcoming videos. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed Bugonia. I hope you enjoy... I worked really hard on this costume. I hope you like it. I hope it's not too scary. Check out my Letterboxd. I log my movies there, and you would have known that I'm making a video on Bugonia if you followed my Letterboxd. Also, follow my Instagram. I started making little short videos on Instagram and on YouTube as well. So share those if you want to help. That helps a lot as well. All right, goodbye. See you in the next video.